I'm Miles Sprague. I'm a linebacker from Holyoke High School, the class of 2022, and you're listening to the Playmakers Corner.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts today, Simon Villanos, along with Kodey Stoffer. And today we are hitting you with another interview. Here, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, man? Introduce like who you are, obviously your name, what school you go to, what you play, and what class you are.
So, hey guys, I am Miles Sprague. I'm from Holyoke, Colorado. I play linebacker. It's my primary position, but obviously I play all over the field in 1A. I play quarterback, running back, all that. And I'm in the class of 2022.
Hey, man, thank you for coming onto the show. Literally, you reached out to us yesterday, in terms of yesterday, August 6th, which was when that 1A breakdown came out. And so we really appreciate you coming onto the show and supporting us, man. We've had our eyes on you for at least for a year now. You know, we're semi-familiar with your game and what you've done over at Holyoke and all that. So we appreciate you coming onto the show.
Oh yeah, no problem. I was happy to. I appreciate what you guys do. You know, part of getting Colorado back to a football state is media and just covering the players more and doing more to cover everybody. So I think it's great what you guys do.
Yes, sir. Big facts. We appreciate that, man. Well, we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But you know what? Let's kind of get to know you. These are some questions that we've asked all of the guests that have came on here. And, you know, we've interviewed the likes of Corey Taha and some Cherry Creek players here and there, and some of the best in Colorado this last year. And, of course, you know, players from out of state. But, you know, the first question we kind of ask is, you know, what's your favorite, like, sports experience / memory that you have while playing? So this is like a sports memory that you have that you were actively like participating in, as in like you were playing the sport. And really, this could be any sport, you know. Obviously this is a football podcast, but you know, we are fans of multiple other sports, and you know, other athletes have mentioned other sports as well. But you know, what is your favorite sports experience in your opinion?
So mine is definitely from football. Last year, you know, we didn't know if we were going to play or anything with COVID, so we finally got the chance to go. And it was a little weird because they switched up the conferences. So Highland actually joined our conference for the year last year. So we played them in our home opener, and it was a tough game. It was a tough game all game. And we were down 2 touchdowns actually in the first quarter. We came back and tied it at half. And then we tried to nobody scored the entire second half. We missed the field goal, so it went to overtime. And actually, we scored on 4th and 10 in overtime. Somehow, I just ran around and scrambled so I could make a play. I threw it to my brother, actually, and we were able to score and then get the 2-point conversion. And then they got the ball, and they scored on the very first play, but we were able to stop the 2-point conversion and get the W. So that was definitely the best moment I've had.
Jeez, man, what a play.
That's
a
an
core
exciting
memory.
game.
Yeah, that's a core memory, low key. That's
I've
awesome.
never been that sore, honestly.
No, we got you, man. And Highland, they were a solid squad last year. We actually covered their running back Holden Morgan over there, and we've talked to him briefly as well, you know. And so he's a that's a heck of a dude to go up against every down and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Oh yeah.
So. Yeah, well, we are going to go ahead and assume that you are a sport fan in some capacity. You know, you like to watch sports or be a fan of it. And so, you know, we just want to ask you, you know, what's your favorite, like, sport viewing experience? So this is, like, more of a memory that you have, like, as a fan. You're not participating, but you're, like, watching. And this could be any level, like NFL, college, high school, even Pee Wee as well. But what's your favorite sport viewing experience?
Man, this is tough. There's a lot of experiences, but probably the one I'd have to go with is the 2016 NBA Finals. That Game 7 was insane. I enjoyed the heck out of it, and that block was crazy. It was legendary. That was definitely my favorite sports game to watch. It was insane.
That is definitely up there. That actually might be mine, because we actually answered these questions a very long time ago, and so that's up there for me too.
I remember where I even was. I was down in Pueblo at a football camp in between, like after the last practice had ended when I was watching that. So it's like, where were you? That's how impactful that sports, game is.
Oh yeah.
Everyone knows where they were.
Yep.
Yeah, I was in the Springs betting my Jordans on LeBron winning, so I was lucky that he won because those were my only pair of Jordans at the time. But hey, I kind of have a side question to ask you here because we've had a couple players from out of state, specifically more so like girl football players, like girl flag football players from out of state, and they all like love the Patriots and Tom Brady and that whole thing. And so I wanted to ask you, are you a Broncos fan, or what's your NFL team?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge Broncos fan.
Yes.
I hate watching them right now because they're struggling, but we'll see. I was hoping we were gonna get Aaron Rodgers, but obviously
Me
that
too,
hasn't
brother.
happened. So we'll see. I love Drew Lock, but I just don't know if he can get the job done. But we've got a hell of a team around him, so we'll see.
Finally, a Broncos fan on this podcast. I think it's been forever, dude.
Yeah, it's probably been like 5 or 6 months, which is weird. But hey, that's good to hear, man. Because surprisingly enough, there are plenty of players in Colorado who, I don't know, who aren't Broncos fans. But I just figured I'd ask. So
Yeah, that's
crazy.
go.
Yeah, it is crazy. But you know what? Let's get to your game though. So. We're just gonna be honest, you are the first player that we've had on for an interview that we haven't done like an extensive breakdown on, as in like put out an episode on you and whatnot, and we probably will, sometime this year. I know you're on our request list on our TikTok. You've been requested at least once, and so we keep a list of players that we want to eventually do, and so we've been kind of holding out on these class of 22 players for this next year, and so we'll get to it when we do, but we've definitely watched your game, or I've definitely watched your game before, and so this is kind of a way to introduce yourself to our fan base as well, and to the state that may not be as familiar with you as well. But just right off the bat, I want to ask you about your opinion on this. But who do you model your game after? Obviously, you play multiple positions on offense and defense. You kind of do it all there. But who are some players that you look up to and be like, yeah, like I kind of resemble that in some way? And it doesn't have to be one player. Obviously, it could be multiple players and whatnot. And it doesn't just have to be NFL players too. It could be anybody. So yeah.
So this is a little weird for me because I've played safety a little bit, but I haven't played it a ton. But I really try and model my game, and I've always been huge fans of Ed Reed and Sean Taylor, just because the way they hit and they flew all over the field. They were great athletes, and I love watching them. And then I actually, the mental side of it, I try to model my mental side of my game to people too. And I like to look up to people like almost Baker Mayfield because of his moxie, his personality. And I like to, when I step on the field, I know I got some pride and some moxie with me, and I can get the job done. So that's who I try and model my game after mentally. And then physically, yeah, Ed Reed and Sean Taylor, the way they flew all over the field was exactly what I want to be like.
I know Kodey loves that because he's an Oklahoma fan, so he loves the Baker Mayfield aspect there.
Yeah. Oh, you betcha. But I also, Ed Reed and Sean Taylor, two of the best safeties to ever watch play the game as well. So overall, lots of good things to look at there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'd say pretty accurate. I could definitely see that for sure. So that's really interesting. But with that being said, let's continue to talk about your game, right? So I just want to keep asking your opinion on this because we'll do our breakdown eventually and whatnot. Regardless, you're still a great player. Don't get it twisted. We just gotta get into those specifics here later. Yeah. But in your opinion, what are like 2 to 3 qualities that like separate you from other players in Colorado or even the country, in your opinion?
Well, I'd say my versatility, first off, because, I've played quarterback since I was a freshman, and I've played linebacker. I've pass rushed a little bit. I played safety. I played some running back. So I've really played all over the field, and I feel like that's the best quality that I have is I don't like to say I'm a position-specific athlete. I just like to say I'm a football player, and I can play football. wherever I'm needed, and that's what I really try and do. And that's really the second thing I would say is just my leadership and my ability to get it done when the lights are shining bright. And I think I do a good job of that. And I enjoy it, man. I enjoy the spotlight, and I enjoy being in it, and I enjoy the pressure. So.
Love that answer. Honestly, I really do. That's awesome, man. That's awesome to hear. I wanted to ask you actually about this season. So will you be the starting quarterback and linebacker for the squad moving forward? Because I know on your Twitter I did see some wide receiver drills and some other stuff in there. So.
Yeah, so I've been working really all over the field on offense. I'm gonna play linebacker on defense, but we'll see here. Just because I don't know. I'll rotate in a quarterback definitely, but my younger brother Wyatt, he's a hell of a quarterback, and he played wide receiver last year for us, but I think he's going to do most of the work this year. And really it's just because it makes us more versatile. It gives me the ability to be all over the field, in motion, running the ball back at quarterback or out catching the ball. So I think it puts us in the best position to win, and that's what makes us best. So
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. That's really interesting, actually, because I don't know. I know Miles prep red zone report, I want to say. I might be totally misquoting it, but I know I definitely saw your brother up there as one of the top returning receivers, and so
yeah,
that'll be really interesting to see. But you're right, though, the versatility, there's definitely something to it if both of y'all could get it done, as long as you win games, right?
Yep, that's all that matters. W.
All right, man. Well, fair enough. Well, look, we wanted to ask you about your reaction to our breakdown of the 1A level, just because, we've gotten a lot of reactions. We'll just say that, we've gotten a lot of love from Lyman for sure. That's kind of obvious because they were our pick to win it all. But, we've had some guys from Buena Vista and really all the schools that we kind of talked about reach out to us. And so first things first, this interview will be coming out either this Monday or Wednesday. It'll come out next week, before the two-way episode. But basically, we just wanted to ask you about your reaction to the breakdown and all that. And hey, man, be real with us. You don't got to sugarcoat it. Be real with us. I know you feel like your spot is definitely in there, and we definitely mentioned that on the podcast at least. So go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, I enjoyed listening to it. First of all, it was good to listen to. I didn't agree with all of it, but I definitely enjoyed it. Lyman, they're a great squad. I talked to those guys. They're cool guys, but we've always had that little rivalry since we came into high school. So I've enjoyed that. We've kind of been, at the top of 1A football. They've obviously been at the top for the past 3 years. But I think we got a good squad this year, and we can make a lot of noise, and we can get it done. And we have great coaches behind us. Our coaches do an amazing job, and I think we're definitely going to push for it. And I can't wait for that Lyman game at the end of the season. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, you love to hear that. That might be a game that we need to make a trip out to and cover it. Just see what's up and all that stuff, But that's awesome to hear, man. That's awesome to hear. And so your team actually is returning a lot of players this year, a lot more than I thought. I was looking at a couple different articles here and then looking at y'all's rosters. Y'all are definitely returning a lot of players. Obviously, you are losing one of your best players in Joey Beckner. He had 16 sacks last year, led not only 1A, but he led the entire state in the fall and spring season in sacks with those 16 in a shortened year and all that. But other than that, you're returning a lot of players. You kind of gave a little bit of that, but you know what? We want to give you a chance here, man. Go ahead and give us your case for why you believe Holyoke is Holyoke, right?
Yep.
Okay. Why you believe Holyoke will be a contender this year and, has a good shot at winning it all.
Well, so I got to start from my sophomore year. We were really talented and really good my sophomore year. We ended up losing in the semifinals to Lyman. We beat them in the regular season. Then they got us in the semis. But after that, we had a ton of seniors that graduated, and we were really, really young last year. You know, we had a lot of freshmen in the secondary and playing wide receiver. We had a pretty young line, and this year, you know, we lost Joey, obviously. That's a huge loss. He's a great player. But we can find those guys on the line, and all of our skill positions are 1 year older. They're 1 year more experienced. And I think that chemistry is there now, and that experience is just, it's huge, honestly. I remember the jump I made from my freshman to sophomore year was insane just because of having a year under my belt. And I think with the chemistry that we have, the coaches that we have, and we just have a lot of good football players on our team. And I think that's the most important part. We got a lot of good football players technically. Well, we're technically sound, we're disciplined. And I think, you know, with our schedule, we're playing the best in the state. Our conference, we're playing the best in the state almost week in and week out. And I think it prepares us for the playoffs really well. You know, some of the mountain teams, they don't necessarily get the schedule we do every year. So with our conference schedule, we have the ability to prepare for the playoffs and really get ready to go at it and battle when times get tough.
Yes, sir. You love to hear it. You love to hear it. All right, man. Well, hey, you know what? I'm definitely a bit convinced here. I'm definitely a bit convinced here, man. Because even on the episode, we talked about how, you know, the strength of schedule. Obviously, it's a big deal when it comes to rankings and all that, right? But also, last year you kind of saw there were some teams that weren't really challenged until the playoffs, and then you saw a lot of stumbling around and whatnot. And you know, it's never a bad thing to be battle hardened. You know, obviously you got to make the playoffs to be ready and whatnot. But you know, once you make it there and you have that experience, that's never a bad thing. You know, to have that tough in-game regular season experience. So that's what we love to hear here. Kodey, what do you think about that? And then this is kind of our transition here. But what do you think about what Miles said? You know, what's your opinions on Holyoke after his case here?
Well, he makes some compelling points. I mean, obviously, you know, y'all were a playoff team last year with the inexperience, you know, working against you. So, you know, all those younger players have a playoff game under their belt, which is crucial. And, you know, it makes them very hungry in the off season. And, you know, on top of that, a lot of these first year players, Simon, they had to go through COVID and stuff like that. So the off season was super wacky and the preparation was super wacky. I was trying to coach last year through it. And it was, you know, it was a mess. It was a mess.
Yeah. Let me say something real quick. So last year we went down to Lyman for the quarterfinals. We went down there with 17 guys because of COVID. COVID just hit us real hard that week. We had a bunch of guys in quarantine. We were playing guys that have never really stepped on a varsity football field before. And going down to the number one team in the state with 17 guys is definitely not ideal. So it was hard.
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't even know that part, but it makes sense because the further you get into the season, the harder teams got hit with COVID, especially like smaller schools, I'd say, where you just lose, especially like starters and stuff. That's just how it was. And, you know, obviously y'all still showed up and played and, you know, but that you don't have that going against you really this year. Well, you know, hopefully not, knock on wood, of course, but
cross our fingers.
Yeah, cross fingers. But, you know, a more regular off season has definitely happened since then, you know, since last year. And, you know, I'm pretty sure a more regular season will happen this year. So, you know, you have like those things going for you in the first place, just from like a football and preparation perspective. And then on top of the experience of those younger guys, I think that's a really great case. And, you know, I'm excited to see it this year. And, you know, hopefully that, the RPI, you know, plays in your favor and you get a pretty decent seed as well to start. Because I believe you guys were given the 8th seed last year, which is always tough too. You know, you'd rather get, you know, like a higher seed and start off with, you know, a game that's not against the defending state champs.
Right.
Ideally.
Well, in a normal year, we would have played the 9th seed too. So it was crazy, you know. So. Yeah.
Definitely a wacky kind of year, and you know, hopefully the stability helps out a lot on top of the experience in the regular off season. I think that those are all really good points. But kind of transitioning here a little bit and talking a bit more Miles and recruiting. So obviously, we've discussed it this whole episode. You're on the 1A level, and you're currently the only ranked player in 1A according to 24/7 last I checked. And I guess, how has the recruiting journey been as a 1A football player? And what kind of advice would you give to, not only just high school athletes in general, but, 1A high school athletes on getting your name out there and getting recruiting and getting stars? We haven't seen it, since we started this podcast. So just take us into that kind of journey and what you've done maybe a little bit differently.
Well, it's tough, first of all. So there's a lot of advantages from growing up in a small town, but there's also a lot of disadvantages. And one of them is exposure and the ability to get yourself in front of coaches. And I think that's the hardest thing about getting recruited out of a small school is not only do you have to get exposure, but they have to trust you because you're not playing 5A competition. So they have to really believe in you that you can step on a college football field and compete. And so what I think I've done with my recruiting is I've been all over the country. I've been in front of a ton of coaches, and my uncle and my dad have really helped me. So my uncle is the head football coach. He played at CU. My dad played at CSU. So they've really helped get my name out there. And then it's just really getting in front of coaches and showing them what you can do. And not only getting in front of them, but making a statement there. And, being the first one to shake their hand and things like that. It's the little things, especially out here. Not everybody has to do the little things like that, but you got to make sure you got to have great eye contact. You got to speak clearly, speak loudly, and you got to be assertive with yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing in getting recruited out here. And then obviously once you get going, it's a lot easier. So I started going to 6-0 a couple months ago now, and Matt McChesney, he's the coach there. He does a great job. He's helped me a ton. He's the one who got me ranked on 24/7 actually. So hopefully I'll be getting that 3rd star soon. And I've been working out there and getting a lot of exposure there, and he's talked to a lot of coaches, and it's set me up for a lot of things, not only for like schools like CSU Pueblo, but I'm talking to schools like CU and CSU and South Dakota State and Montana now. So it's a good deal. So the piece of advice I would give to small school athletes is get in front of coaches and don't forget where you came from. Use your manners, use your things like that, and just really assert yourself and make him. He's got to know that he trusts you because that's his life. That's how he puts food on the table. He's got to trust you in order to take you. So you really got to make sure that you're willing to do the things you got to do to make the coach trust you.
Hey, I love that response. I think that's, one of the more in-depth responses that we've had on the show. And so I just want to say I appreciate that. It sounds like, at the 1A level that, versus like 5A or something where it's like, people know who a Miles Purchase is, or that just in passing, or a Chase Penry. But, at that 1A level or just at that smaller school level in general, basically anything below 3A, honestly, you have to make sure you have to introduce yourself versus, coaches just passively knowing you. And,
right.
I appreciate, that attitude of being assertive and, getting out there. It obviously helps that it sounds like football runs in the blood with the Spragues. So, cool little football family thing going on there. And, but also taking advantage of your resources. We've heard a lot of good things about McChesney over there at 6-0 from, I believe Anthony Tocchini was really fond of him, as well as Wilson Clark. Some linemen who've worked with him in the past. And obviously, I think Trey Zune, also the highest ranked O lineman from 21, also worked with him before committing over to Texas.
A&M, right?
Yeah, A&M.
Yep.
Obviously utilizing your resources and, here at PMC, best of luck getting that 3rd star as well. And, we're going to make sure to take a good look at your film. And you're on our list for, we do like the top 5, senior players at every position. So you're definitely on our list there. And, whether you end up on that list or you end up as an honorable mention, we do your breakdown again. I'm looking forward to just releasing that episode and, getting you a little bit more exposure. But yeah, really appreciate everything that you shared about that. And I guess is there, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, but is there anything that you would have done differently as far as recruiting prior to your senior season? Like things that you kind of like wish you knew like before getting here? Or do you think that it's kind of played out? I mean, as far as being like the only 1A player that's ranked, do you think that it's played out almost as best as it could have?
Yeah, I think it's played out well. I think I've done a good job overall. The one thing I probably would have changed is, I have everything when I go to camps, my athletic ability, my speed, my change of direction. I have all that. But it's really, I need to put some dominating film on right now. So I haven't really put absolutely dominating film on tape. When I go to camps, everything shows. But I really got to work on playing downhill more. And I know it's not really with recruiting, but it kind of is. I got to work on playing every single down as hard as I can. I got to play downhill, and I just got to be a striker. And I haven't done that to the best of my abilities yet. So I'm excited to get out there this fall.
Hey, the way you play is obviously a part of recruiting. I think a lot of people don't make that connection, but it definitely is, right? The better football player you are and the better things you do on the field, then obviously the better opportunities that you'll get. And I know some of the smaller players that we've done, like El Hajj Fall, I believe, he was the out-of-state guy, and Rod Green, they always advise, too, like posting that camp film, too. If you can, obviously, like getting videos of you at camps where you're going against, out-of-state competition or even in-state competition of all levels, and showing, the dominance there and putting that on like social medias and stuff too.
Oh yeah, that's a huge part of it, is post. And I really started to get into that a couple months ago, especially on Twitter, just posting all the time so coaches can always see it. And the big part of going 6-0 is I can compete against those 5A guys and those 4A guys all the time, and I have the ability to post it. So that's been the best part for me, is just showing all the coaches that I can compete against anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you have to be a high school athlete, a high school student, and you have to be like your own sport manager all at the same time.
Yeah.
Which obviously isn't easy, but I mean, you found a way to do it out there in Holyoke, and at that 1A level. So I guess, at that rate, well, and it helps that you're talented as well and athletic, but, it shows that it's possible, as long as you put in the work.
Oh, yeah, it is. There's stories all over, Dalton Reisner is a great example. So.
Yep, absolutely. NFL guy. So I guess kind of transitioning a little bit into, something that you specifically reached out to us about. We talked about like the recruiting and stuff, but, we here at Playmakers Corner, we want Colorado, and for those who don't know, referred to as the Box State, to become a football state here in the Rockies. In your opinion, what are some things that can get Colorado to that level?
Well, I think the first thing is, from just the actual football perspective, it's, Coach McChesney kind of referenced this too. It's hobby town in a sort of way. We're not really hard. The coaches aren't really hard on our guys. Colorado's not the best at competing, and we need to get better at that. So we need to train more with each other. We need to train harder. And those guys that are at the top, being at the top of recruits, it's kind of our job to get football out there more and just get more kids in football. And then I think the second part of it is media. And I think, Colorado doesn't do a great job of covering high school football anymore. And I think we need to get back to that, where we're covering high school football a lot and getting our guys the exposure that is needed. So then we got camps coming to us instead of going clear out of state, and we just have more attention on Colorado. And I think the more attention we get from media, from everywhere, from coaches, is just the better. So I think it's just getting ourselves out there more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you caught episode 50, but, that was definitely a flagship episode for this podcast, where we talked about like Colorado football, a culture problem. And we talked about, a lot of the same things that you just brought up here. And, it's where it's like, there's a problem with the coaches in the state, and there's a problem with, opportunities in the state. And, a lot of athletes kind of, what you said and what McChesney apparently said, hobby town. A lot of high school kids are just fine with putting on the Letterman's jacket and walking through the halls,
right,
and just getting the clout that comes with it. So, you bring up some excellent points. And by the way, listeners, small plug for episode 50. Go ahead and listen to it if you haven't. But anyways, I think that I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you said. And I'm sure Simon would say the same.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. And, that's partly why we started this podcast, man. We wanted to, first off, just elevate talent that, isn't being elevated. And, about a year ago during the pandemic, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to give advice to these young athletes, and, we wanted to give them exposure. And, Kodey and I, in case you didn't know this, we're both, well, he was born here, so he's more of a Colorado guy than I am. I was born in Texas. I actually grew up in Dallas. I grew up around the likes of a Kyler Murray, Jamal Adams, those kind of cats over there. And so I know what a football state looks like for sure. And, Colorado, I'll be honest, has been good to me. And, we want to do the same here and put on players. That's why we are doing these, 1A, 1A 2021 previews and breakdowns so that we could talk about as many players and teams as possible, and really kind of just get them out there. Because honestly, man, this probably won't be the last time we talk about you or any of these other players, because we're obviously going to do, some sort of review after the season. But, there's those rankings and all that. And so, we are happy to be a part of it. And, we're glad that you are kind of giving us, this insight, because even after, I'll just be real, after that episode 50, and, we've had some, we're not going to call anyone out. We're not going to call anyone out.
No name drops, but there is some backlash for sure.
Yeah, not from players, though.
Real colors of programs in the state.
Yeah, not from players. Like, all of the players that have reached out to us, and there have been a lot on the 5A, 4A, 3A, basically every level of Colorado football have echoed exactly what you've said, man. And, they completely agree with us. And, it's just good to know that we're all on the same page. We're kind of working for the same thing here,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a big goal that kind of everyone has in mind. It's a player or a coach that really wants it. And so I think it's been, over the past years, it's been a good push. And I think we've had some things go our way. And, at 6-0, we just did a roundtable for Fox KDVR. So we were on there, and it's been good. There's been more media, and I think the more the better.
Absolutely. I mean, we just gotta, it takes, certain media outlets just knowing, hey, people care about this, especially the high school athletes and the coaches who are actually living it, and showing what the life is of a high school football athlete and what all that entails, So that's awesome that y'all had that round table, and hopefully it just continues to snowball, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I liked one part that you talked about where it's it's up to us as players, and as, those top recruits to kind of, increase the involvement and that drive of football. And so kind of building off of that, I want to ask, what do you think your contributions to Colorado football have been, whether that's in your community, doing volunteer stuff or Pee Wee stuff, or, just getting your face out there in the community, any community stuff that you've done that shows hey, football players are, people too.
Yeah. So I think really where my contribution has been made is just across small school football. And I kind of view myself as sort of, the face of small school football out here. Nobody really knows a lot about it. And it's just all the kids that look up to me, man. I do it to show them. And I kind of view myself as somebody who is obligated to set the table for the next generation of young guys that want to be football players, and show them the right way to do it, show them how to do it. And that's really my goal. And obviously I take a lot of pride in playing for Holyoke. I want to put that name across my chest and really have pride in it. So I think playing in a small school has given me a great opportunity to show all these kids from small towns that it's possible, and you can do it if you set your mind to it.
Yeah, I love that, Fornia. I think that's exactly what you're doing, and I think that you'll only have a chance to build on that, heading into this season. So, yep. And then this is super off topic, but I just gotta ask, what's it like growing up in a football family, with your dad and your uncle having both played college football, and then you have one or two brothers also on that squad with you?
Yeah, so I got two brothers. So Wyatt, he'll be a sophomore, and then Reed will be a freshman this year. So it's been a football family is cool. I've loved growing up in it, man. We've gone to a lot of football games, and I've heard heard a lot of cool stories, from my grandpa and my dad and my uncles. Obviously, my other uncle played at CSU as well. So it's been cool. It's been a good experience for me. I've learned, and I'd just say I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about what it is, like what it is to attack every day. Like there's nothing else, and you got to attack all the time. You got to work hard, and honestly, the biggest thing I've learned from them is to just never stop, never stop. And sometimes stuff hits the fan, and you're just down low, and the only way you're gonna get through it is to just work your balls off. I don't know. I don't even know another way to put it. And so that's kind of my mentality that I've carried throughout my athletic career, through all sports and through life. I'm gonna work hard and get through whatever life throws at me.
Yeah, and I bet that's cool that everyone kind of knows what you're going through, before a game or after a game, win,
Yeah.
lose. They've all lived it on multiple levels, and you all can hold each other to basically like the highest standard too. So that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
awesome to grow up in that environment and develop as a person and a football player.
Oh yeah. Especially since I'm still 17. I think some stupid things sometimes that aren't necessarily right, but they've been there, done that. They have that experience, so they're there to lead me through the process and really alleviate a lot of the headache that I could have caused.
Hey, fair enough. And sounds like that, with that kind of family, it instills some humility too. So,
Yep.
um,
Yep, for sure.
so talking about, you said you've learned a lot, you've heard a lot of stories. I guess, as we kind of get near the end of this episode here, I guess what is some advice that you have or would give to high school athletes making their way through high school sports and aspire to go on the next level, whether that's, on the field or off the field or anything like that?
You got to learn to love the game. If you don't love it, you're not going to make it at the next level because there's too many guys, they'll move on, find another cat. You got to love the game, and you got to love the process. And the process is the prize, and I truly believe that. And you got to learn to love, working out early in the morning and doing the things, making the sacrifices that not everybody else has to make every day. And you got to make a lot of sacrifices, but for me, it's just I love the game and I'm willing to make the sacrifices because I want to play college football so bad. I want to experience that atmosphere and that family and that culture and that fan base and everything that comes with college football. So I might have to give up some things here and there, but in the long run, it's going to be worth it because I'm chasing my dream and what I really want to do.
I was gonna say I really like that quote there. The process is the prize, and definitely agree with everything you said. Love and commitment to a sport is you could see it. You could see the difference between the people who love football and for the people who
Yep.
are just there. So I think that's great advice to give to some of these younger athletes, and I think that that's a great question that you as a high school athlete have to ask yourself when considering how far you're going to go in the sport or what you're going to do for the sport, is like, do I love this game? And so,
Yep.
I think that's a great piece of advice for younger athletes. Absolutely.
Yep.
And yeah, I guess, now that we're really, really at the end of the interview, I guess I just want to give you time to shout out anybody who's been important to your academic or athletic career. You've already shouted out, well, you've briefly mentioned, your family members, obviously, as far as your brothers and, your uncle and dad and some coaches that you've had. But I guess this is a time to, really give like thanks. And we here at PMC believe in, showing gratitude and displaying, that support system that's in place for players and how important it is to have a good support system and how that helps you get to the next level.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously my family, especially, my uncle that coaches and then my dad and my grandpa, they've really helped me. I wouldn't be where I am without them. And then Coach McChesney over at 6-0, he's done a great job for me so far. I go there and work out. He's just great in everything he does. He builds He builds bridges for players in Colorado that want to get to the next level. And really, being from a small town, it's one of the great things. All of our teachers and coaches and everything are really good at supporting. And I got a really good supporting cast around me. The community is behind us, our football team all the time. And it's really special.
And I'm glad to hear that. And it looks like, so far, so good. And obviously, we wish you the best of luck heading into, this fall season. And, hope to see y'all lighten it up and, put a thumping on some of these other 1A teams.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on. It was a blast. It was fun.
Hey, it was a blast for us as well. Yeah, thank you so much to Miles Sprague for coming on to the show on really, getting it set up pretty fast. Reached out to us only a day before this interview, and, we got it together, and I think that he has a lot of good things to say, and I think there's a lot of good things coming out of Holyoke High School, and, even for years to come with the Spragues running things over there out in Holyoke. So thank you so much for joining us on the show. And, make sure to find Sprague here. You're on Twitter, right? If you want to drop your Twitter handle, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Sprague_Miles on Twitter and then Miles_Sprague on Instagram.
Perfect. So, yeah, go ahead and give our athlete a follow there where he's posting a lot of good content. And go ahead and look up his highlight reel and stay tuned for his breakdown. We will be coming out with it sometime this fall, I'll say for sure. And, in order to check out that breakdown, make sure to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere that you listen to podcasts, including Anchor. And if you haven't already, make sure to find at the Playmakers Corner on either Twitter or Instagram. We're also on Facebook and TikTok. And thank you so much for rocking with us. I've been one of your hosts, Kodey Stauffer.
I'm your other co-host, Simon Villanos.
And until next time, peace.